So Danny Flexon here for SecondsOut. Delighted to be joined by 2-0 light heavyweight prospect Karol Itauma. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. Nice to see you here at Demons. Is that the right name?
Yeah, that's it. It's just literally like above the bath store. It's, you know, as you can see, it's a nice little place, and it works for us.
You'd never even know it was here. I've lived relatively local to here for the last 2 years. I didn't even know there was a gym above the bath store right near the train station as well. But yeah, it's tucked away, but you've made a lot with the space.
Oh, absolutely, like especially like as you can see, we've got new bags from Geezers as well. Got kitted out nicely. So like I said, it does the job, and that's all we need.
This is the first time we've had a chance to really talk at length, so I want to take you back a bit. You were born, of course, in Slovakia. Slovakian mum, I believe, Nigerian father. Just tell us a little bit about that kind of upbringing, and then coming to the UK at the age of 7, I believe, and what prompted that move.
Yeah, so we grew up in a small village called Jar, population of less than 1,000 people. Growing up as little kids there, we had a lot of freedom. We could literally like walk across the border, and it was fun. The transition didn't really start until like we started secondary school. Well, not secondary school, but like started school in the city, and that's when life became kind of harder because we were looked at differently. Like we were the only kids with a different ethnical background in the whole city. So as you can imagine, it was tough, especially young kids growing up. So when I was 7, that's when my mum decided to bring us to England and start that new journey.
And why was it England? Because as we said, your mum's Slovakian, so obviously had to leave home. Your dad Nigerian, so didn't go back there. Why England?
Well, because my dad actually lived in England. He lived in England for like a long time, and obviously with my parents, they met in England, and then yeah, we just decided to come here.
How did you find the transition? Obviously, it was difficult at times in Slovakia because you were the only mixed race family in the whole city. But coming here, you didn't speak the language, which must have been a different challenge.
It was tough. It was tough, but the thing that we were young as well kind of helped. So we straight away got struck into school. I couldn't speak English, and the fact that I couldn't do that, they chucked me straight into the primary school. I lived with like the nursery kids, so it was tough, but I was basically forced to do it, and the more I did it, and you know, it just becomes natural to you, and I picked it up.
And how did your family settle back in England as well? Was it easy for them to kind of find work, assimilate, find friends, all that kind of thing?
Yeah, so my dad, like I said, already lived in England and worked in England. It was in Slovakia. We only lived with my mum and my brothers. So the transition, obviously, as a kid, I can't remember a lot of like how things worked and that, but our parents had done everything they could for us, and we're truly grateful for that.
And are they still here now, your parents? And what do they do?
Yeah, so my mum works in a prison, and then my dad works in a care home, like 24-hour carer.
A prison near here, Maidstone.
So the one in Rochester,
Oh yeah.
that one. I think it's a youth. I think it's a youth prison. But she obviously went university, studied, and that's what she's doing now.
Awesome. Now, tell us about the journey into boxing. I know you represented St Mary's, obviously a very well-known club in Chatham, which is where you live still, I believe.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what got you into the sport in the first place?
So ever since I was young, I was always a sporty kid. Always, like whether it was football, rugby, tennis, all of it. I was always doing it, and I was never good at anything. I was always good, but I never found something I could, like, okay, I want to really do this, like really be good at it. It wasn't until like I think it was like year 9, I was in the same class as 3 other boxers, and 2 of them were national champions at the time. So they won the schoolboy titles, and I just overheard their conversation. They're talking about boxing and this and that, and then I just said, "Oh yeah, where do you guys box?" And then they mentioned amateur boxing, St Mary's in Chatham, and then the next week I was there. And then that's how it started.
You're obviously something of a prodigy because you won, 8 national titles, Youth Olympic gold, as we know, European silver. Why did you take to it so quickly, do you think? Because like you said, other sports, you never really stood out, but you just took to this like a duck to water.
The thing is, my coach Dan would tell you that I wasn't a natural. I wasn't the athlete that walked out the door and he could already box. It was more of more of a learning, more of a perseverance, more of dedication, and actually sticking to it day after day. And what I kind of, pulled me to boxing was that it's all down to you. Like, if you get football, you get rugby, they're all team sports. So you could have the best game you had, but, at the end of the day, you still could lose. In boxing, it's down to you. What you put in is what you get out. And I felt like that's why I've come so far. It's just because it's all down to me, and I work hard.
What's the story behind that youth Olympic gold? Because it wasn't that long before you were at the Worlds, didn't go as well as you would have liked, and then you turned it all around, beat the Russian in Argentina, so it's not like you had backing of a home support or anything like that. Why were you able to turn it on when it mattered most?
The thing is, so for those that don't know what happened, it was in February, I think, or March, I went to the European Championships in Italy. And that was like my first ever, like my first major tournament.
It was 2018?
2018, yeah, it was my first major tournament. So everything was new to me, like the whole process and everything worked. And obviously I got to the final and then lost to Russia. About 9 months later, I boxed the same Russian in the Youth Olympic final, and that I ended up winning. And I don't know, it was just more of like that belief, that already knowing that I've been there, I've done that, and I knew where I went wrong, and just making it right.
You got huge amateur pedigree. What was behind your decision to not stay longer and get more senior experience, particularly internationally, maybe even go for an Olympics as a senior?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was a decision that we made with our team. We all sat down together and we all discussed in that way the benefits and the negatives of it all. And I felt like, for me, when I started boxing, the end goal was always to be a world champion. And I kind of fell into the middle of two cycles, so I just thought, let me make a head start of my dream and make a head start in a professional career.
So was it always your dream not to go to an Olympics, but more to be a professional world champion?
The end goal was always to be a world champion. That was the end goal. So that's what we took.
What sort of fighters did you look up to when you were coming up through the amateurs?
Well, everyone knows like the Mayweather, obviously, like the defensive boxer that he is, and what he done for the sport. Canelo, Errol Spence Jr., them kind of fighters.
And you said you made the decision with your team. Obviously, we're talking about, you're only 20 now, so you were a teenager at the time. How do you get a team together when you're still so young?
So I was lucky enough to have very good people around me. Obviously, being in amateur St. Mary's obviously being my only club, I kind of built a good group of people that are class as, like my family and that sort of thing. And they were able to advise me and kind of guide me in the right direction. So that's why I'm lucky.
And tell us about them. Tell us who the key members of your team are and what they do for you.
Yeah, so obviously, back when I first started, it was Dan Willage. He's been my coach since 14 for me and my brother Rico. Then you got my Jamie. He's basically like one of my advisors, like my sponsor. He helps me a lot with everything. I've got Shocks. He's another one of my sponsors. Got Paramount. I have Rochester Health Club helping me around on the way as well. Nicky King always advising me with what to do, with what not to do. And it's I've got a great group of people around me.
And you've already got a clothing line, is that right?
Yeah, so the clothing line right now, it's on the back burner, yeah, because obviously we've got to prioritise things and what comes first.
Now, talking about that, you made your debut, got a good points win, Lewis Van Pucci, as he likes to be called, and then stopped Ryan Hibbert, which not many other people have done, and certainly no one's done it as early as you did. Did you feel in your second fight, having gotten to points in your debut, you really wanted to make a statement?
Statement, yes. The reason is because my first fight, my one debut, I only had 10 days notice. So it wasn't like a true representation of me. Because obviously, if you have 10 days to get ready and an 8-week camp, it's two different things. And I felt like in my second fight, there was a better representation of myself and what I can do.
Now, this time around, you've got another kind of journeyman opponent, I think it's fair to say. the temptation with Frank Warren, who promotes you, will probably be to take it pretty slow because you're still 20. He'll be waiting for you to get your man strength. You may even still be growing height-wise as well. But do you feel ability-wise you'd like to move faster, or do you feel it's going at the right pace? What's your take on it?
My take on that is I'm just going to listen to my team and my coaches, because at the end of the day, I know that they only want the best for me, and they have my best interests in their heart. So as long as I keep training and keep learning and keep developing, and each fight getting better, that's all I'm focusing on. At the end of the day, I will get there. I will get to the top.
Is it hard to plan for the future in terms of what weight you'll be competing at? Because you're making light heavy 175 pretty comfortably at the moment, but you could still be growing, and there's only 2 more weight classes above. Do you have to think about that?
At the moment, I'm just thinking about what's the next fight, because that's at the end of the day, that's all that matters. I feel great now. I've had another good camp, and light heavyweight is the division I will be competing at. But things change. We never know.
I mean, UK light heavyweight, great, exciting division at the moment. You've got the likes of Callum Johnson, Anthony Yard, Lyndon Arthur, Joshua Buatsi, Craig Richards. I could go on and on. How many of those do you think will be around by the time you get to championship level? And what other kind of light heavyweight prospects do you see as being those domestic rivals when you get there?
Do you know what? I'm the type of person that doesn't really pay too much attention about what other people are doing, because that's it's to me. I don't really care what anyone else does, as long as I'm getting better, as long as I'm improving, as long as I'm on the right track of getting to where I want to get to. That's all that matters. And then whoever comes, then it happens.
Now, for anyone out there who's on the fence about tuning in on Saturday, or certainly for the undercard, what's your style? How would you describe what you do in the ring to people who've never seen you?
I would describe myself as an effective boxer. I don't like wasting shots. Precise, accurate, and explosive.
And Frank's got a huge crop of young talent, really, really good, especially kind of former amateur standouts. He's always had a good eye for talent. What makes you stand out from the crowd, in your view?
What makes me stand out is it's a bit of everything. The good team that I have, the loyalty that lies in the team, the fact that I know I can be the one that can actually transcend and go beyond just boxing.
When you say that, what sort of areas do you want to transcend into? Are you looking to kind of influence the young people in the community? Are you looking to, we've already talked about the clothing line, is it from a business perspective? In what ways do you want to transcend the sport?
I think there's a few areas, like the ones you mentioned as well, and the fact that give other people hope as well. The fact that I came to England, couldn't speak the language, started boxing, and I'm learning and getting better each time, and I think that's going to give other people and other youngsters hope as well.
Would it always have had to have been boxing for you, or could it have been another sport or another passion that you got interested in that helped you kind of assimilate and progress?
I believe that with my mindset, my mentality, I think I would have done well in anything I probably put my mind to, but it happened to be boxing.
And I told you off camera earlier, Frank Warren was singing your praises earlier. He's very high on your talent. What made you and your team decide to go with him? I'm sure there are other offers on the table. What made him the right promoter for you?
Well, the fact that he's, as an amateur, I was boxing with Midge as well in the Nationals, obviously Dennis McCann there, and the fact that we saw that he's bringing these youngsters that are also local around us as well, bringing up, we just thought, yeah, we need to go with Frank.
And there's never any chance of you going to perhaps a more well-known professional trainer than sticking with your current team? Because I'm sure, again, there would have been people clamouring for your services.
No, like I said, in sport of boxing, it's who you have around you, and loyalty is really important, and I trust my team.
Good stuff. Now, just before we let you go, we always do this the first time we interview someone. I know Ali has interviewed you before for SecondsOut, it's the first time I have. Just tell people how they can find you on the different social media platforms. Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm K_Itauma, and then on Twitter, Itauma Karol. Great stuff. Really appreciate your time, and best of luck on Saturday and going forward. Thank you, I appreciate that.